Chris Hansen here of Hansen vs. Predators. To catch a predator and have a seat with Chris Hansen, I'm going to need all of you to have a seat right over there because I've been going through some transcripts and there's something you need to know. You're watching TTFT. I'll be watching as well.
You want to be cured. Why? So you can be like them, live in their world.
Hey. We don't have candy. We got something different. If you look right here, we got yourself a phone book, bottle of hydrogen peroxide, and some applesauce. No, listen. You can tell him to hit me with a phone book or the hydrogen peroxide, or need to down one of these, or get hit with them. It's
Phone book.
Oh, yeah, do it, Ian. Come over there. Throw it.
Okay. Watch out, kitties.
Hello, internets.
Happy Halloween and welcome to a special spooky episode of That's the Fucking Trailer.
Guys, before we begin, number one, we're wrapping up this month with the innovative Wes Craven classic, The People Under the Stairs. And we got a great treat for you guys today, and I'm talking about a trick or treat. We'll be joined by the Stairmaster himself.
We're actually also going to be joined by Brandon Quintin Adams
And
Kelly Jo Minter, who played Ruby.
Big Sis.
They'll be popping in thanks to Stairmaster. Oh, how we've come a long way. Let's come a long way through this episode. We do our research. This is everything that you need to know about The People Under the Stairs. The People Under the Stairs is the story of a young boy, Fool, from the ghetto, and takes place on his 13th birthday.
13th birthday is unlucky anyway.
In an attempted burglary of the home of his family's evil landlords, he becomes trapped inside their large home and discovers the secret of The People Under the Stairs. Tomorrow, People Under the Stairs will be celebrating 30 years. It was released in 1991.
Oh, that was a hell of a year. Now, speaking of 1991, films released around this time, My Girl, The Addams Family, An American Tale, 50 Goes West, and Diary of a Hitman, fuck you, starring the great Forrest Whitaker.
Oh, I've got a perfect still for that shot, too.
I hope it's not of his eye. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, go ahead. Go. God damn you, man.
People Under the Stairs was written and directed by the late and great horror master Wes Craven. He worked on The People Under the Stairs between 1990's Night Visions and 1994's New Nightmare, where he reclaimed the franchise that thrust him into the spotlight a decade earlier with 1984's A Nightmare on Elm Street. Craven is responsible for Freddy Krueger, Ghostface, Stairmaster, and Swamp Thing.
Now, those are some fucking hits. Now, speaking of hits, let's talk about this hit cast. We have Brandon Quintin Adams as Fool. We have Wendy Roby, woman. Everett McGill, man. Then Raines,
Leroy, friend of Ruby's.
Sean Whalen as Roach. Bill Cobbs as Grandpa Booker. Kelly Jo Minter as Ruby Williams.
Did you get AJ Langer as Alice in there?
I wrote all of those down, and no, surprisingly no.
Ooh.
Very, very tense about this.
AJ Langer as Alice.
Shh.
The People Under the Stairs was filmed in Los Angeles and New York City in the spring of 1991.
It was made on just a $6 million budget. The People Under the Stairs came in just shy of totally recouping its budget during its opening weekend, and as of right now, has a worldwide gross of over $30 million there.
And that's everything you need to know about The People Under the Stairs. What did we miss? Put it in the comments. And
you know what time it is. It's time for some of that KOC. Cock King of Connections is here, baby. Hope your kids are under the stairs and not listening to this episode.
All right, I have 2 connections. Here's the first one. Wes's Nightmare. You can hear a nod to Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street when the tape recorder plays a skewed version of the haunting prayer in The People Under the Stairs.
I pray the Lord my soul.
The same prayer is spoken in Craven's first film, The Last House on the Left, And one of Craven's final films, 2010's My Soul to Take, the title is stripped straight from the last line of that prayer.
Well, your number 2 will actually share because it's one of the first connections I saw, and I was like, how can you not see it? Guys, if you're a fan of the film Pulp Fiction, there's a little gimp down in the basement, and he was under the stairs, except this gimp in this film was way better than that gimp. I don't know if you can rank gimps, but if somebody's,
Yeah, the gimp in Pulp Fiction was almost like one of the people under the stairs in a gimp suit.
Right. But he had a tongue, but it was used for other things.
Yeah.
That's very weird.
But that scene in The People Under the Stairs is what inspired the leather bodysuit in Pulp Fiction.
Gimps are coming back in style. With that being said, one of the other connections that I came up with, and this will be my last connection here, would be Mr. Vin Rames himself. Now, we all love Vin. Now, Vin, correct me if I'm wrong, was in a movie on an airplane with one of our favorite actors ever. Mm-hmm. What's the name of the movie?
I told you I'd get that bunny back.
There you go.
What was all that shit you said about black people? Do you mean that? Give me that gun. Hell yes, I did.
Yes, very good. Con Air is the movie we're talking about. Now, Vin Rames was also in Con Air. You remember his name in Con Air?
I don't remember his name in Con Air, but his name in real life. Is it Vin or is it Ving?
He goes by both, but it's Ving. It's Ving. But in the movie, there's a line where he talks to him. He was like, you're just going to let him talk you around like that? Oh, eyes be nice while master's round. But when he's gone, the day of the dog is here. He says the day of the dog. Mm-hmm. And if you noticed, him and this fucking dog in this fucking movie, the day of the dog is
had it out for him and him specifically. Which I have a theory about that.
Well, I do too, so we'll get to that later. So guys, those are our connections. Most of them involve Ving Rames and the Gimp. Sorry, Ving, you know what the fuck happened.
All right, here are 10 things. What the fuck is this segment called? Shit. Okay, top 10 facts.
You can do it.
It's only the
Come on, boy.
30th time we've done this. I don't
Come
know
on.
how.
Come on, boy. Top 10 facts.
This episode is going straight to hell. Here are the
burning.
3, 2. Here are the top 10 facts about the people under the stairs. Number 10, if these walls could talk. The famous Thomas W. Phillips residence in LA served as the Robeson Funeral Home in The People Under the Stairs. The house, being no stranger to film production, was also used in 1988's Witchcraft, The Immortalizer, and Dr. Hackenstein, House 4 in 1992, The Covenant in 2000, Rob Zombie's 2007 Halloween reboot, a 2012 episode of Modern Family called Open House of Horrors, 2012's Pumpkin, starring the very tasty Christina Ricci, and a 2013 episode of Sons of Anarchy called The Mad King. If you're looking to visit the home today, just open up your GPS and plug in 2215 South Harvard Boulevard in Los Angeles. While you're there, you can pop on over to the body shop that was used in the Monk episode titled Mr. Monk and the Paperboy, located under 4 miles away. The Epps family home from Numbers is just a 20-minute walk from the Robeson Funeral Home, and it is also just a quarter mile from the dinner break scene that was filmed at the beginning of 2003's National Security. The house was once owned and occupied by Butterfly McQueen, a real name, and the maid from Gone with the Wind.
Number 9, based on a true story, The People Under the Stairs was inspired by a real-life event that Wes Craven read about involving burglars breaking into a house, and when the police arrived, there was no sign of the burglars. But after investigating noises coming from behind locked doors, children were actually discovered, imprisoned by their own parents, never permitted to go outside.
Number 8, The Sound of Silence. I don't know if this is Graham or Graham.
So that's how you do it when you fuck up. You just apologize before you do it.
So I'm going to call him G. G. Revel was the original composer on the film, but his score was ultimately rejected, although he still received the credit as the composer for additional music. As far as Revel's work that did make it into films, he was the composer on Child's Play 2, Psycho 4, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, The Crow films, The Basketball Diaries, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the 1995 film, From Dusk Till Dawn, The Craft, Spawn, Bride of Chucky, Idle Hands, Collateral Damage, Freddy vs. Jason, Pineapple Express, and the Gotham series, and much more. So he definitely seems to be a capable composer, so we can only wonder why his work didn't fit with the vision of The People Under the Stairs. When things didn't work out with Revel, Don Peake was brought in, who worked with Wes Craven previously on 1977's The Hills Have Eyes.
That's a hell of a resume for a composer.
Yeah.
Definitely tell you that right now. Number 7, Mommy and Daddy. The nameless characters in the film are a strange and nice touch, but if you listen closely during the scene when Mommy gets attacked by Alice, you can hear her yell for Daddy, calling him Eldon. With the funeral home being Robeson Funeral Home, it is safe to assume that Daddy's name is Eldon Robeson. Wes Craven chose Winnie Roby and Everett McGill to play Mommy and Daddy after seeing them play husband and wife on Twin Peaks. I think he told them, just do some Twin Peak things.
Yes. Number 6, it kind of had its own ride, sort of. If you went to Universal Studios in Orlando and went on the Twister ride while it was still in operation, you could catch a glimpse of the people under the stairs playing on the drive-in theater screen before getting ripped apart by a tornado.
Number 5, adult children. Many of the stars in The People Under the Stairs were much older than their characters they portrayed. AJ Langer was nearly 17 when she played her 12-year-old character. Sean Whalen was 26 years old playing a 16-year-old Roach. Not to mention, the star of the film, we'll talk about later, was actually 9 years old when filming and about 11 when it came out, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, playing a 13-year-old.
There you go.
All right, number 4, Roach. Roach was originally written to work as a male or a female character. Hilary Swank auditioned for the role.
Tilda Swinton ain't want none of that? All right. Number 3, taken for a fool. Leroy tells Fool that he's being evicted and has to be out by the next day.
Y'all been evicted?
But there's a flip side to that coin. California law requires a 30-day notice before evicting someone. So get out of here, Marcellus. He ain't through living under your roof by a damn sight. He can get big legal on your ass. Vin Rames is one of my most favorite impressions to make. I love doing Vin Rames impressions.
By the way, that was some crazy fine print in their lease, talking about the rent being tripled because they're 3 days late. That's probably the most diabolical thing about the whole entire
Let me tell you
film.
something. When you're broke, it does feel like it's triple. It came out of 3 months back.
Yeah, you can quadruple it. No, make a fucking difference. You're still getting what you're getting.
You're right.
Number 2, Where Are They Now? Brandon Quintin Adams, who played Fool, would star in The Mighty Ducks the very next year and would reprise his role as Jesse Hall in 1994's D2. He was also Kenny DeNunez in 1993's The Sandlot. He also became a familiar face of various 90s television programs, including Martin, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Boy Meets World, Sister Sister, and Moesha. And you will recognize a young Brandon in Michael Jackson's 1988 video for Smooth Criminal. More recently, he has contributed his voice talents to the Kingdom Hearts video game franchise, and this year starred in The Resort with the film called Finding Adeline, currently in pre-production, that reunites him with his People Under the Stairs co-star Jan Burke.
Everett McGill, who played Man, played the role of Big Ed Hurley in David Lynch's Twisted World of Twin Peaks in the 2 years leading up to The People Under the Stairs, and would go on to reprise that role in 1992's Fire Walk With Me, although his scenes didn't make the final cut. Now, 2014 Twin Peaks, The Missing Pieces, and the relatively recent 2017 return of the series.
Wendy Roby made her film debut playing Woman, also came from Twin Peaks, and would also return to future installments in the franchise all the way up to the 2017 season. She'd go on to work with Wes Craven again in 1995's Vampire in Brooklyn. And in 2020, she starred in Dreaming Grand Avenue, and has a film coming out in 2022 called Relative.
AJ Langer, who played Alice, also making her film debut in The People Under the Stairs, went on to appear in many iconic 90s TV series like Blossom, whoa, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, The Wonder Years, not the black version, we get to say that now, Beverly Hills 90210, and Baywatch. She played Rayanne Graff in My So-Called Life from 1994 to 1995, just to name a few. Now, more recently, she was Erica Warner in Private Practice. She doesn't have a credit since 2013's Kristen's Christmas Past.
By the way, you could say that now.
Oh.
Yeah. It would have a different
tone if you said
it. Yeah, it would be interpreted differently.
Is Vincent Vega in the motherfucking house?
Ving Rhames, who played Leroy, went on to bring to life far too many memorable characters to cover them all, but to name a few: Marcellus Wallace in Pulp Fiction, Walter Robbins in ER, Luther Strickle in The Mission Impossibles, Diamond Dog in Con Air, Don King in Don King Only in America, and of course, Cobra Bubbles in the Lilo and Stitch franchise. This was also Sean Whalen's film debut, aka Roach. Sean is a fantastic character actor who has made a thick resume for himself in film and television. Among many other credits, he was Alan Sanders in 1996's Twister. He was at the karaoke. Oh, funny. So the dude that was in the dude that was in People Under the Stairs was also in Twister, and the ride that was based on Twister featured People Under the Stairs. Go figure. He was at the karaoke party in The Cable Guy, Mick Macy in Idle Hands, Bex in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, Neil Frogert in Lost, and fans of Always Sunny in Philadelphia will recognize him as Liam McPoyle.
Bill Cobbs has nearly 200 credits with 7 films currently in various stages from pre-production to post-production. We're running out of time. Just look him up.
Finally, Jan Burke, aka Stairmaster, has stayed busy in the world of acting, solidifying his place as a staple in the world of horror while branching out to flex his acting chops across other genres. He is also a film producer and will be getting more into his career when we talk to him later on in the show.
Number 1. Possible reboots. Shortly before his passing in 2015, the great iconic Wes Craven had signed on with Sci-Fi to create a series based on The People Under the Stairs. Craven had also previously approached Spanish director F. Javier Gutierrez to direct a remake. More recently, Monkey Paw himself, Jordan Peele, has been in talks for the remaking of the film. With the profits of the original Saw on such a low budget, you can definitely expect The People Under the Stairs to make its way around again in one way or another.
That's you are fact-filled. Let's talk and start with some theories. Hear us out.
All right. Hear us out. Let me tell you what I really think was going on here. This young nigga then lost his motherfucking mind. Ain't no kid in the 80s, 90s going back down the motherfucking stairs. And I know you guys like, where the fuck did that come from? That's what I found myself saying in that movie as it was going on. And I know you're thinking, well, where's the fucking theory? This motherfucker on this screen is pissing me off. You know what? In real life, Brandon's a nice fucking guy. But that fucking kid, I do not like. Did you hear this motherfucker say, I promised her, I gotta go back? Bitch, this ain't Jenny. What the fuck are you going back? You don't know this whore in this white dress. Like, what the? No.
Yeah, it's got to be the only time in horror movie history where the hero of the film escapes the madness and the horror, gets to safety, and it's like, you know what? It was Squid Game.
Oh,
it was Squid Game. He fucking escaped it. He's like, you know what?
Kid games.
Yeah.
And he came back out that fucking cabinet. Like, what the fuck? What kind of shelves are in that motherfucker?
Yeah.
Tim Allen, can we get some home improvement? Benford Tools need to go to that house.
My theory is about the Rottweiler, the dog. That fucking dog had it out for Leroy, and my theory is, in the beginning of the movie, they're looking at the tarot cards, and she shows him the full one, and he's like, "What's that doll there?" And she's like, "That's your companion," and it's almost like a protector of him. And if you notice, like, Fool is in every scene. Is in the same room with Leroy every time that dog shows up and attacks him, and it pays no mind to Fool. It's not concerned with him at all. So it almost makes me wonder if the dog is Fool's protector and the dog keeps going after Leroy. Is that the film trying to tell us that Leroy is the real threat to Fool's safety in all of this?
All I know is one of my favorite parts of this film is when he looks at him, he's like, "You stand right here and let me know when he's coming."
You think you can do that?
This dude is he's an entertaining piece of shit and an enjoyable piece of shit to watch, but a piece of shit nonetheless. It is the kid's 13th birthday, and this guy's
motherfucker got to kick in,
trying to get him into a heist situation. And then when mommy and daddy come in, they start chasing him for the first time.
Don't worry.
He immediately runs up, finds himself a nice little cubby hole to tuck himself into, and then he's like the fucking inn masters on the night Jesus was born. He's like,
no room.
He shuts the door on him.
Nah, in fairness, leave him the fuck alone. Kids have a much easier time finding hiding space than adults. He's a big motherfucker. And speaking of that, the one theory I did have, it wasn't necessarily about this film, it was about Pulp Fiction. My theory is that he didn't die. In order to get away from that fucking dog, he fled to LA where he became Marcellus Weiss. He changed his name. He changed everything.
If that's the case, he must have been really pissed off when he found himself back down in another basement with
that's why it makes sense. Like, he was like, not again. Zed's dead.
All right, those are our theories. Put some theories that you have about People Under the Stairs in the comments, and we're going to talk about the movie with some discussion. All right, the hypocrisy of mommy and daddy.
Mommy and daddy.
It's one of the first scenes that they're in. It was funny to me, not really funny, but amusing how easily they can justify robbing blind the tenants that they have through shady slumlord practices, like actively trying to throw people out on the streets and make them homeless.
One last family in the Lenox Avenue building, then it's clear to tear down.
And that kind of stealing is acceptable to them. That's not going to send them straight to hell. But when he comes in and tells mommy,
Some niggas robbed the store.
they came out quick with that. I think that was the only time it was used. But they let you know right off the bat, like, we're going to get it in there once so you know what kind of people these are. And then they're like,
May they burn in hell.
so knocking off a liquor store in order to survive because of the practices that they're imposing on the community, that's worthy of going to hell. But what they're doing is completely fine in their eyes.
In fairness, that's that old school racism I talk about, because the fact that you find out later they're more so prejudiced than racist, because they're opportunists. Because when the one daughter that they had, like, they told that bitch to burn in hell too. Like, they wanted everyone to burn in hell. It was just like, no, whether you're white, black, Jew, blue, didn't matter. Homer Simpson couldn't have been there. You yellow bastard, you're gonna burn in Springfield hell.
Yeah.
This is a very stereotypical movie of the 90s. But one of the first things that I really loved about this is that the movie starts off with a black person reading versus a black person dying. Usually in a horror film, we're going in 30 fucking seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But it starts out with black people reading versus dying. So I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah. Speaking of the old school racism, when mommy and daddy are outside talking to the cops, and they find that, like, Boy Scout thing from Fool, like, cluing them in the fact that he's in the house still, and there's like they didn't realize there was 3 people in the house. Mm-hmm. Upon realizing that, they tapped into that old racist fear about a black guy corrupting a white woman.
She's in there right now. With our little angel.
Oh my God.
The movie was really good in the foundation of it, in, like, establishing the characters and establishing the time and place, as far as, like, tapping into that, like, social commentary on those subjects. It was effective in establishing these ideas, but we'll get into how they dropped the ball in the final act.
We'll get there, but again, that's why I say this is 90. This really brought me back into the 90s, because a lot of films in the 90s, there was no explanation. You were either just labeled as racist, labeled as this, labeled as that. So it took me back into that genre. So now, one of the things that I found very funny, and it was just like, man, stick with one fucking stereotype, because they got fucking Leroy here. And if you can't tell, you're dressed as Brandon's character, says a fool, and I am dressed as Leroy, which is why you see me in this dodge. Now, if I look ridiculous, and I know Black Panther and shit, I look cool, you know, I like that, baby. I like that. I'm gonna take Tony, baby. But with that being said, what the fuck was going on? Because pick a stereotype, all right? You got this big, angry, burly black man in this dashiki with the dashiki hat, and if that is his character, okay. But he's trying to send these kids on a mission, and he's smoking heaters. He is fucking smoking. Like, wait a minute, no, one of these things are not like the other. Yeah. One is something that's wrong. You can't put him in a dashiki, because he's supposed to be like, oh no, what's pork in that? I don't want none of that. You know what I'm saying? And then he's smoking cigarettes. What the fuck is going on? I tell you, man, back in my day, like, get the fuck out of here.
Either he's a culture vulture, or the wardrobe department, where it's just like, what's a strong black man look like? They didn't have Google or Siri then, so they just had the...
And not only that, they made a cast of him, and just in case they needed a strong black man again, remember they said in body cast? What the fuck was that? Somebody got their rocks off. Yeah.
I didn't have to be naked.
Don't you do that. No, William asked you the same question, and I'm going to kill someone this Friday.
No, I had a reason, and when you see the movie, it's evident. I didn't see a Bing Rames dick once in People Under the Stairs, so again, why did they have to get a full...
I'm just glad you're looking for dick now. I was seeing dick, and now you're looking for it. That is beautiful. Damn it. Last time, I keep seeing dick.
I'm not sure if this moment was intended to be comical, but I laughed my ass off. When Fool and Leroy get shocked when they grab the doorknob. It even electrocuted the fucking
dog. Yeah, that was funny. Oh, I said that. Where's that at?
You say, I don't know how they got this or what they did to that dog, but it was one of the best, funniest shots of the movie when it cuts to Leroy getting up and you see the dog convulsing just like they were on the floor. But that, I would say that was the only time that Brandon as Fool was like over the top with his acting.
Read it.
Electric Dog City. Electricity plus dog. Ving Rhames. Little black boy.
What did you want from me? Because that shit freaked me out. I'm like, wait a minute. This is something out of a comedy. Man, no, I'm gonna tell you what was out of a comedy. Clearly, this movie was inspired. Which one came out? Clue or this first? Clue came out, right?
I would say so. Yeah.
Dude, how many fucking passages were in this house? It made Clue look like it had one room.
It reminded me, especially when they went into the walls and were running through there. There's a scene in I can't remember if it's Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2. And there's a lot of comparisons to Sam Raimi and Evil Dead and Bruce Campbell in People Under the Stairs. I feel like they took a lot of inspiration from that, but I'll get into that in later on. Okay. But when they're running through those walls, that was very reminiscent of a scene in one of the Evil Dead movies. That was it was like pretty much the same thing, shot for shot.
There's a scene in the movie where the white dude, it was Eldon or Man or
Daddy.
Daddy gets punched in the nuts. And somebody called Guinness Book of World Records. That is the fastest male nut punch recovery I've ever seen in my motherfucking life.
Yeah, he's probably castrated or some weird shit.
I can see that. Yeah. I can see that. I can see like powder or something. I can see that. But I will say this. Was that fucking Cujo or Lassie? What the fuck? Listen, that dog, I want you to know right now, he's getting an honorable mention from me. That was a real fucking dog. Uh-huh. Dude. That dog, and he had to be the smart. Every team was always in the right place. They're like, go get him.
Kill him, Fitz. Kill him.
Go get him. I'm like, look at this smart motherfucker right here.
And there is something.
They fucking that dog.
I want to know how they got that performance out of the dog to have it convulsing on the ground.
This was the year. I think this is the year Peter was formed. Because when they find out what the dude, like, I mean, even pushing the fucking dog's head, I'm like, that's a real fucking dog. Like the dog, I felt like somebody was holding the dog's hind legs, trying to get out. The dog's trying to get out, and they got the little poor Brandon, poor fool, is kicking the fucking. I'm like, yo, shit. That's why the suit showed up. Talking about the fuck out of here.
Going back to that moment where they're talking about their little angel being corrupted by the black boy that is still inside. So right after they realize that, they run inside. Now, mind you, the cops just left like within
5 seconds ago.
He's in the house just bam. Like they have to be within earshot to hear that. They have to be able to hear that. And on that note, how is there anything left of the walls in the house? Because it seems like he just makes a habit of recklessly just firing the gun off through the house.
When she said some bullshit 90s cliche shit like,
Never shoot your gun outside.
bitch, the whole neighborhood just told me to let off.
Like,
what the fuck are you talking about?
Unless they took like a lot of precautions and really soundproof. I mean, they've got like all the lock-in mechanisms and crazy shit like that, so it's not unheard of, I guess.
I guess this is serendipitous to say I got a little Jordan Peele feel because it doesn't count because he wasn't making horror films back then. But did you notice the fucking singing and the dance along every time a nigga got killed? They couldn't stop dancing. Even when he thought he killed fool, he was like, "Oh, I just got me. He went the buck dancing in that motherfucker." And then when Leroy got, they were fucking with the imagination and the racist bag. Let's see what we can kill today. Yeah. So yeah, they were a little bit, again, old school racism.
Yeah.
They didn't,
Full once, shame on them. Full twice, shame on Fool. Fool gets tricked by those stairs when they go into the house. And that's fine. That's the first time. He did not know. That's not on him. But then, at the end of the movie, he's standing on those very same stairs that this happened to him on, holding a gun, or holding Gimp Daddy at gunpoint. And then here he goes again. It's like, how'd you not see that coming, man?
Perfect segue for that. Did you not get a feeling that if this was not a horror and this was a comedy, you cannot tell me someone didn't see this, especially being not John Landis. We're looking about John Landis earlier, but Home Alone. That's Home Alone. It's the kids inside,
dropping a brick down the.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this shit like the electric shit, like, and I'm looking like, wait a minute, somebody saw this, replaced him with a white kid, and made it a Christmas story instead of Halloween, and made it a comedy.
That's true.
That's my fucking theory. This movie got ripped,
it got living singled.
Now, thank you for being a friend, Ross. But yeah, dude, we need to. That's a TTFT exclusive. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but you can see so many similarities going from room to room. The little sidekick, the cops show up, they leave, they don't know what's going on.
They even have like the really scary dude that you expect to be the bad guy that turns out to be your ally.
Right.
Like, in Home Alone, it was the dude, old man neighbor next door, always shoveling the snow, and they were freaked out by him. He was Home Alone's Stairmaster. That's
fucking crazy. And yet again, mommy and daddy are nowhere to be found.
All that money in the basement is very interesting to me. I thought it said something interesting to see all that money just kind of hoarded in the basement. Mommy and daddy are so fucked up. They have no use for the money they're hoarding, obviously, because it's just sitting down there like antiques. It's like their only motivation for getting rich is purely to ensure that other people stay poor. Like they're not trying to enrich themselves. They're trying to spread poverty around them, which is it was just so alarming when at the end of it you see, like, I could have more easily accepted that they were ripping off the community to enhance their own lives in one way or another, but to see that they were doing it and doing nothing with the money that they were procuring through their various shady pursuits. It's just all down in piles laying in the basement.
I believe we call that greed.
Oh yeah. It's like the perfect analogy or metaphor for the super 1% rich. Like money means nothing to them.
Yet again, you called it Squid Games. Games. Called it, brother.
My last note is not. I don't even have any thoughts on this. I just wanted you, as a strong black man.
I do identify as one thing.
Especially right now.
What do you mean by that?
I just feel like you're about to
what does that mean?
Do a sermon at any moment.
No.
When Fool calls daddy boy.
Kiss your ass goodbye, boy.
For the uneducated out there, please educate them on the significance of that single word.
Well, the term boy is a term from many moons ago of racism and just essentially when we were stolen, or my ancestors were stolen from Africa, our names were ripped from us and we were given other names. But before we were given names, because only the names were given to the ones we had slave masters, not stairmasters, slave masters. But the ones who didn't have that, they were just say, hey boy. They didn't want to know your name. And they even went worse than that, because before the Constitution, before it became 3/4 of a man, we were still the boy. And so that's where some of the writing tries to come back and play back yet again 90s cliche of they're letting the young black kid call the older white man boy, because he's letting them know, like, hey, I know what you called us niggas earlier. So essentially that's where the term boy comes from. And again, it's not something, even to this day, you still hear it. Even if you get pulled over by a cop, sometimes where your boys going? You hear it. It's like they're trying. It's one of the most dehumanizing things you can say to a person. Like, I have a name, and furthermore, bitch, my 99 times out of 100, my name is that of a former slave master, and you still won't call me a name. I'm still just boy. What? So yeah, that's where the term comes from. But yeah, that was just crazy. But I will say this though, one of the good things I think this film did was it was very courageous in attacking. You don't normally expect horror films to be the ones to attack certain psychological things that are going on, like Candyman and also like Us. Mm-hmm. But they're more so starting to do that now, because like you just said, reality can be some of the scariest things out there. It's one of the scariest things out there. You said when we did our Candyman episode.
Yeah, that's why I said at the top of the episode that this is, for the time that it came out and for who made it, it was definitely innovative to a degree. Wes Craven is coming from movies like Last House on the Left, Hills Have Eyes, Nightmare on Elm Street, that are pretty much making him a household name probably primarily within suburban white communities. So to build that reputation for yourself and then take the chance to do something that if it was done at all, it definitely wasn't like commonplace to make a horror film, like you said, where the stereotype with horror films is that the black character dies. Wes Craven took this movie and it was the protagonist is a strong black character. It revolves around the struggles of black culture around the time. The white people are the villains of the film, and they are like grotesque villains.
Incestually venomous, if you will.
Yeah, so I think there's respect to be paid to Wes Craven for taking that chance and doing something like that when he did.
And he didn't have to either.
Yeah, and then he turned around and did Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah, and shout out to the worst, I guess, step granddad ever. Like, you told the kid how bad the place was, you let him go right back fucking over. We're gonna get these gold coins in the morning. We getting paid, bitch.
Normally I tell you to give these things back, but
you know. And guys, those are our talking points. Please let us know what did we miss. Put it down in the comments, and if you're in the live chat, hey, here's looking at you, kid.
Let's cast.
All right, guys, you know what time it is. It's time for the Jenner, the swap. Here's where we take the cast and we swap them out for what we think would be either better or just something that would simply entertain us. I'll start with Fool. I would like to replace Fool with a time approach. I remember I used to do that all season when I would make people smaller and shit. I would like to replace Fool with a young Gary Coleman.
I mean, you could have done an old Gary Coleman.
I know, but I specifically wanted the young one. That's why I did that. From a Different Strokes, him. The age he was at Different Strokes. I want him. All the same hijinks. That's the only thing that's going to make it funnier to me. Like, I could just imagine him saying, you know any prayers? I say, like, I just, what you talking about? What you talking about, Bean? Leroy?
I did my casting call under the pretext of if Jordan Peele were to remake The People Under the Stairs right now. I think it would be cool with Fool to do a gender swap with it and have Madison Curry, the little girl from Us, play the lead.
That'd be pretty dope. Leroy, I would have loved to have seen, I'm going to fuck his name up, and I did this last time, and I really got to stop doing this. It's not Michael Clark Duncan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just seeing that big black man and that little black man on the screen is in Gary Coleman just really did something to me. I don't know why. I've aged him up again. Because you're right, it would be funny if the older Gary Coleman looking young.
Yeah.
Now you can't get out of your mind.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like them standing next to each other. It's almost like Gary Coleman is the result of somebody pinching and like on their phone with
I thought you were say
Michael Clark Duncan.
I thought you were say somebody pinching a muscle off of Michael Clark Duncan, and this is what you got. It's still him. He's so big that you just pinch people off of him. It's just Gary Coleman. It's Webster. We're gonna get canceled.
My Leroy, I mean, Ving Rhames is still alive, still kicking.
You can't see anybody else other than Ving.
I wouldn't want to either.
Leroy, friend of Ruby's.
How about did you do? I got. I think Bruce Campbell would do fantastic as Daddy.
Okay.
Mommy, our friend Lila Robbins.
Oh.
I
thought that was Lila Robbins.
She definitely had Lila Robbins vibes.
I was like, wait a minute, why didn't we just get Layla? I literally thought that was.
I want to specify. She had Lila Robbins on the screen vibes, not in real life. Because in real life, she is a sweetheart.
Oh yeah.
Like most of the characters that she plays. And then the last one I did was Alice, the daughter in the house. Sophia Lillis, the lead from I'm Not Okay With This.
Oh, you know I love her.
She could play a trouble girl.
You know I love her. For Stairmaster, I know we have Jan Birch. For me, the only other one I did was, of course, Stairmaster, Bobcat Goldthwait. For him not to have to say anything and just be the
Gilbert Godfrey.
That's my impersonation of Bobcat Goldthwait. I haven't done that impersonation in so long, man. I still got it, man. Yeah.
All right, I'll do Gilbert Godfrey.
In what way can I get fired next? F that. All right.
We apologize. Let's move on to 7 Minutes in Heaven.
All right. Favorite scenes for me. We'll go back. Are you still numbering them?
Well, I'm not going to say the numbers out loud. I have 8, but I'm going to do 2. But I have 8.
Fuck you, man. All right. With that being said, number 1. One of my favorite scenes was.
So now you're going to number that?
Fuck, damn it! I just did. Fuck. All right, 3, 2.
One of the most effective moments of suspense in the movie for me was when Fool hears mommy and daddy praying and follows the sounds to a room to find that it's empty and the voices are coming from a tape recorder. So at that moment, you're like, oh shit, they're not there. They're obviously coming behind him. But what was so brilliant about the direction and the pacing of this moment that made it really good is that when you find it, when you see the tape recorder there, you realize that mommy and daddy are not in the room. Fool is standing right in the doorway, and it cuts to a shot looking at him, and you see this like darkness behind him that anything could come out of at any moment, and it hangs there looking at him, and you're waiting for it at the edge of your seat, like when is the jump scare going to happen? And then it cuts to a different shot, a profile shot from outside the hallway looking at Fool. So you kind of get this like false sense of relief, thinking that, okay, the moment has passed. They're not going to do what I thought they were going to do. And as soon as you have that thought, bam, here comes daddy.
Gimp daddy.
Yeah, charges out of him. That moment reminded me of one of the best jump scares in horror movie history. It's in the hospital scene in Exorcist 3. It was just brilliantly choreographed and played out. I'm going to play that clip as we're saying it. So.
But also, there's a flip side to that coin, because I looked at that scene and I saw it for a different way. I was looking at the acting from Fool, and I was like, he initially, he's leading up to it. He walks up to the room, but in my mind, he got there and said, "This is still. I don't give a fuck if this is a tape recorder. The shit that I was just hearing is fucked up." So it get kind of fucked with him, like, yeah, that's a tape recorder, but they saying some fucked up shit.
Yeah,
like, this some weird shit, man.
No, when did they put together that recording? Like, that was an elaborate, like...
But my thing is, they've been had it. This isn't anything new. They've had... This isn't the first child they trapped. They're using their stuff. They have a child trapping kit. CTK.
Yes, mommy.
Mommy,
you say your prayers? Yes, mommy.
Okay. All right. Okay. And this is it was by one of my favorite scenes is in Favorably Horrible. What the fuck? Did this bitch just get on the fucking PA system and say,
Daddy, police out there.
Bitch, they can hear you. She literally had a PA. If they didn't hear the gunshots, they heard the PA.
Yeah.
Did you hear when she got on it?
Uh-huh.
The fuck, man? Jesus Christ. And then she had nerve to tell her daughter, "You little Judas." Bitch, please. Really? We're quoting the Bible now? Judas?
Yeah, they threw her in the boiling bath.
Get in, huh? Well, let me help you.
Clean yourself. At least she was trying to get the blood off her, not the black off her. I thought she was trying to get the black off her because she's our pure daughter's up there with that black. Okay, whatever.
Oh, she's been tainted. Now they can both burn in hell.
Mm-hmm.
The two of them.
Oh my gosh, and burn.
She's probably got her on that reefer. My last one is when is the reveal. Not really the reveal, but the comeuppance of Stairmaster. When Jan comes up out of the stairs and stands up over mommy before everyone starts busting out of the walls to attack her, that felt like a very epic moment that was well earned by the whole first part of the film. It seemed like the film was always building towards that moment, and I think that having to wait 90 minutes to really see Stairmaster and the people under the stairs that we came to see the movie for, waiting 90 minutes to get that made it that much more satisfying. And like when he comes out and he stands there, it's like, oh, I feel it's pretty cool. And then they get their revenge.
Spoiler.
Wes Craven was great at less is more with his villains. Even in Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy became such an iconic movie monster because of that film with such a large, imposing presence. Even though he only has a total of 7 minutes of screen time spread throughout the 91-minute film, with most of that time taking place in the last 15 minutes. It's just it takes some brilliant directing to create a character that strong that you hardly ever see. Just really good storytelling.
One of the things I loved about it is that whenever I see movies, whether they're horror or action or whatever, I love subtleties without things being said. If you notice, it's maybe a 2 or 3 second scene where they throw a bunch of dolls on the bed and it says something about these are all the salesmen and the criminals, and there's not one white doll on there.
Yeah,
that kind of fucked me up. I'm like, this had to be done on purpose, or there had been little Barbies in there, little Kens. There were no Barbie and Kens, just Lees and Roys.
Friend of Ruby's.
Lees and Roys. But speaking of that, my one of lastly, my favorite scene was, and this cannot be understated. Listen, one thing I'll say about the 90s, they were really about practical effects. This motherfucker Vin Rames almost won a fucking Oscar. Go back and look at that look on his face when that dog sicks his ass. Bro, I know acting and I know humans. That was not acting. He was in genuine fear of his life. They only show it for like 2 or 3 seconds. That's why they needed that fucking body cast. Yeah. Dude, they jumped. That dog, he was looking like, go back and look at it. Play it now. Look at his fucking face. That's fear.
Yeah, sure enough.
I don't know about the people under the stairs. I know about the animals upstairs. All dogs don't go to heaven.
Leroy. Friend of Ruby's.
All right, those were our favorite scenes from the film, and now David's going to give us a little blow and tell us about the favorite lines. Let's go.
I got 5.
On it, messing with that and don't we?
Mommy to daddy. Alice has been bad.
She's been feeding that thing between the walls again.
Remember not to bruise her face. This is such an inherently creepy and unsettling line that sets the dark tone off early on perfectly.
Speaking of that, if there was not incest going on, what is it when you have sex with your own child? Because you remember when he was in Gimp Daddy mode and he went in there and she was pretending to still be tied to the wall and he like grabs his dick like he was finna do something to her. I'm like, you are some sick mother. You're right. Wes Craven was brave, but you definitely hit that line where you just said, remember don't bruise her face. Like, bitch, what? Okay. Anyway, you see,
what are they worried about leaving marks for? They never let anybody see her go outside. Scratch that bitch up.
What does that mean?
Maybe he's just looking around a little bit to make sure it's safe.
Maybe the president is gonna make me secretary of pussy.
Fool finds Leroy laying still on the floor and freaks out, thinking he was dead. Leroy says,
"A man ain't dead just because he's laying on the floor. I was listening."
This is one of those, how they say blink and you missed it moments. This is one of those look down at your phone, or if you're not paying attention, you missed it moments. While they only uttered the word nigger, hard ER, one time in the film, it was attempted to be uttered again, but when the niggas showed up, they made sure that didn't happen. At the end of the film, Mommy says,
"There's no community here.
All I see is a bunch of niggas." And so the community shows up and all you hear this woman off screen says, "Yeah."
Busted your ass, bitch.
I was like, yeah. Tell me you heard that.
I did.
He's like, "Yeah, we about to beat your ass, bitch." I was like, that had to be ADR. They went and found like, "Oh, no, give me that sister right there. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but you, baby." Dude, do you understand how great that is?
Yeah.
Because that's something that we about to beat your ass, bitch.
Yeah.
Almost reminds it's the second greatest black line ever uttered, other than my friend from Candyman. Candyman ain't real, nigga. I'm sorry, bro. That's still my shit.
Fool talking about finding Spencer dead, and Leroy asks if he's sure. He says,
"He thought he was white before? You should see that sucker now."
He did say that.
Yeah. They went hard on the whites.
You didn't lick this, did you?
I just want to give a shout out to Mommy and Daddy. This line is pretty much throughout the entire film. Burn in hell.
Burn in hell for getting free.
May they burn in hell.
Catch him in hell.
Burn in hell for showing the way.
Burn in hell! She can burn in hell. Go to hell!
Oh yeah. Right, that you brought that up there. That was my last one. It says, "Some niggas robbed the store. May they burn in hell." Like, goddamn, what happened to due process? And again, it's old school racism. You didn't hit him like, "I want to put my knee on his neck for 9 minutes and let him sit there and bleed out. And then I want to go find his friend running around and stop him from running while black." Like, I mean, no, it just, Let's make it over with. He's black. Bam. All right, guys. And those were our 7 minutes in heaven. And David's off and running an hour and a half into the program.
Scene stealers.
All right, guys, you know what time it is. Now we are into one of the favorite segments of our program, Scene Stealers. And if you've never been a part of our program, here's where we take our favorite artists and we put them up on the board. But before we go into that, Dave, why don't you give us a quick rewind of this season?
All right, make us small. Bring the board up. Episode 1 was Joker. That put Joaquin Phoenix on the board.
Well, we go Werewolf.
Episode 2 was Invention of Lion. That got Jennifer Gardner up there.
Jay Jeezy, baby.
Howard the Duck. Put Chip Zien, the voice actor of Mr. Duck.
Once you go quack, you never go back. And what about Candyman, Dirty?
Candyman was Yahya Abdul Mateen II. I'm sure of it.
All right.
That brings us to the people under the stairs. I've got 2 honorable mentions.
And I have 2 as well, but one of them is not a person. Listen, as a human being, I have to emit emotion. I have to use my voice inflection. I got to use my hands like Jan had to do because he had no words in the script. As an animal, they're treated like animals. They're taught to jump, sit. There's all these little cues going off. But as a big-tane lighter, a red one at that, all American blooded, and just to let that flame rise up out of you. And it's also akin to holding your breath. You try holding your breath for 98 seconds, but it's now try spitting fire for 98 seconds like a rapper from the 80s.
I can't spit fire for 2 seconds.
So with that being said, God damn it, you're the greatest lighter I've ever known. If anything was ever lit by you, it deserved it.
That was fire.
Little Vicky.
My first honorable mention goes to Bing Rames as Leroy.
Friend of Ruby's.
He's always my favorite. When I watched it growing up, when I was younger, I saw him as a good guy. I didn't pick up on how he was such a toxic danger to fool, but even knowing that now, I still really enjoy his character. Bing Rames plays a bad guy that you love to loathe so well. He has such a powerful delivery that comes off as like effortless. Why do I want to feel like there's more than okay?
Effortless.
Effortless. It just seems too short. He has such a powerful delivery that comes off as so effortless for him. Always a pleasure to watch. So yeah, first honorable mention to Bing Rames.
I was listening.
I want to second that as well, because that was my second honorable mention, was Vin Rames. And not only just Vin Rames, and early Vin Rames. I did not know he was in this film. Clearly, I watched this as a child, and he was just a black man smoking a cigarette at a dashiki.
Leroy.
Trying to send kids out to do drugs and sell stuff and wear Boy Scouts uniforms and come back with no cookies.
Yeah,
but
I think it was for me when I was a kid watching it, I picked up on the fact that he was kind of an asshole, but in that situation that they were in together, he seemed like fool's only hope as far as if there was going to be a guardian there to protect him if shit got crazy, it would have been Leroy.
No room.
I'm jealous.
I'm a friend of your mom's.
Right, he basically said that. Yeah. You want something from the stove?
My other honorable mention is Everett McGill as Daddy. This dude was just very entertaining and over the top. Always turned all the way up.
I killed your skinny friend in the walls. Now, what do you think of that?
He gave a great performance. I just don't think it always fit very well within the framework of the movie he was performing in. On his own, aside from just in
I
his
saw him
own
doing like
respect.
an American Psycho.
Oh yeah.
Him though, because it would have been focused on him. It was that character. It's like I don't want to cut you off, but you're correct. That character had so many levels to it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you 100%. Now I'm gonna make it short, and I'm gonna try to make it short and sweet. My scene stealer is one Mr. Brandon Quintin, and the reason why I say that, I'm sorry, Black Macaulay Culkin.
Black Macaulay Culkin.
Yes. I know how long it is to be on set when you have 2 lines.
Yeah.
This kid, not even this kid, this talent, this actor was there seemingly every day, almost in every scene. The story really revolved. It might have been the people on the stairs or the kid on set, because I'm telling you, man, what he had to do and this is a credit to Wes Craven as well, to the stories you guys will hear later, that the things that he did with this kid to get him. And I'm just like, you know what? I saw the beats, and I don't care how he got the beats out of the kids. I saw the lines being performed, and you brought this up earlier. He didn't overperform, he didn't underperform, and that's when you know you're doing your job as an actor. As I saw you as just this kid, and I saw you doing these things, and I'm thinking like, you're outpacing some of the adults on set. This story was wrote for you, but you can easily fuck this up without the right direction. And then to find out his G-Ma is on set, they're with him, and you don't want to let her down. Like, I became an instant, and then we talked to him earlier today, and I became an instant fan of his, but then I became a little bit somber and angered because I was just like, now granted, Home Alone didn't start Macaulay Culkin. Of course, he was in Uncle Buck, and then that's what kind of, it went from there. But I'm looking at it like, talk about stunts. He did more stunts than Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone. And then I'm thinking about what happened with their careers after that and what this kid did. And like, there's no reason he shouldn't have been the Nick Cannon at that time. Definitely a better actor than Nick Cannon. He should have been, his career should have skyrocketed. You're doing these things and it didn't. Yet we have Macaulay Culkin, and don't get me wrong, they gave him Good Son and this, that, and the other, and it kept going down, down, and down, and down. It's just like, man, why didn't his career take, and I'm not just going to blame it on the times, but I just really wish he would have been able to blossom and grow. I don't think he would have been a burnout kid actor. So I got to give it.
He definitely had a lot of iconic roles after The People Under the Stairs.
Correct.
Like, arguably, put him and Macaulay Culkin against each other on IMDb, and
right.
He was in more things that I watched growing up than Macaulay Culkin was. Between the Mighty Ducks movies, the Sandlot.
Oh yeah. Easily, his career and his acting range is there. So it just, unless it was his own decision, then I would have loved to have seen what his career would have been like. Because it's one of the hardest things to do as an actor is be a child actor and then grow up and go through it. And that's why the ones we see do it, you just got to love them for it. Even with Robert Downey Jr. wasn't a child, but even when he started out, over the years, only the special ones can grow into it. So I got to give it to him, man. He was that dude, man.
Yeah, I agree. Brandon Quintin Adams is my scene stealer as well. For being so young and, like you said, carrying a film. It's impressive for anybody, any age, to carry an entire film on their shoulders. But when you put that responsibility on a kid and they actually pulled it off,
right?
I mean, even right to the very end when he's having this showdown where he is expected to be intimidating in a standoff with the main antagonist of the film.
I don't want to kill you.
In most cases, like, if that scenario would have played out, it would have kind of blew the illusion for me. Like, okay, that now they're stretching it because this is not believable. But for whatever reason, he did it so effectively that I actually believed that moment between him and Gimp Daddy. It was a little weird how the dynamite ended up there, and he knew what to do with it. But as far as the verbal exchange back and forth, that was.
He even said, "I don't want to kill you."
But I will, because I don't like you much anyway.
Let's make that clear. I don't want to kill you. I don't like you.
Right, and that was very true.
Yeah, he did really good, and not just good, but consistently good through the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
he was like you said, just very natural.
I'm tired of fucking around.
He was great. He was, and I would credit a lot of that to Wes Craven and his direction, but I mean, really. He's good in all the movies that I remember.
So the credit has to go to G-Ma.
Yeah.
So guess what, Brandon? Not only are you getting on the board, you're the first kid on the board,
and the first person we've had or guest on the show that's
to be
also
on the
a scene
board.
stealer. So,
hey,
Brandon, Quintin, Adams, go ahead and moonwalk yourself right
up
onto
these stairs.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Hey, welcome, man.
Yeah, these stairs aren't going to ramp you down.
No. You did it, man. Hey, you did it, brother.
I feel like $1 million.
All right, guys, that was Scene Stealers, and Brandon definitely stole that date. What's up next, man?
Speaking of Brandon, let's get into Cast Crew Review. It is our pleasure to welcome back to the show Jan Burke, who played Stairmaster in The People Under the Stairs, and later on in the interview, Jan will be joined by his castmates, Brandon Quintin Adams, Mr. Scene Stealer himself,
who played Fool, and also Miss Kelly Jo Mentor, who played Ruby, and we didn't mention that was his big sis on and off set.
Yeah. So enjoy, and all right, growing up, he was no stranger to the arts, the son of a Swedish actor, comedian, producer, director, and musician. His passion for acting came early, appearing in stage productions following followed by television, music videos, and eventually feature films. He literally traveled the world to get to Hollywood, living in nearly every country before settling in the City of the Stars to continue pursuing his dream. In 1990, he landed his first feature film in Slumber Party Massacre 3, and 1 year later, he would land his first major role in a feature film playing the Stairmaster in the film that brings us together today, The People Under the Stairs. And he never looked back. The Young and the Restless, Strange Days, Blessed the Child, Charm, Tim and Eric Awesome Show, Great Job, Hawaii Five-0, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Terror Tales, and Sky Sharks covers about 1/3 of the films and television shows he's been in. He's also a producer with his latest film, Adeline's Lane, currently in pre-production. He has etched himself a space in horror history as an icon among the greats, and we couldn't think of a better guest to be joining us on Halloween night than Mr. Jan Burke. Thank you very much for being here, Jan.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
What was the process like getting such a pivotal role in a Wes Craven film? And the Stairmaster is essentially, if Freddy Krueger was a hero instead of a villain, this Stairmaster is kind of like the Fred Krueger of People Under the Stairs for me, as far as being the face of the film. So what was that like for you getting that role, and how did that even come about?
I was very fortunate and blessed, and I'm very happy. I had a great manager at the time, Steve Vieira. I got the Slumber Party Massacre 3, and at the time when I shot it, I didn't realize that I was in really good company, like Kevin Costner and Jack Nicholson and et cetera, I have started with Roger Corman. And I just didn't realize that until afterwards. So I was in good hands. And then I guess that also made a difference, because the fact that I just made a Roger Corman movie, I think opened up the doors a little more to other people in the same genre. And I got called in to Eileen Knight for this movie, The People Under the Stairs. I barely knew who Wes Craven was, to be honest with you, to be 100% honest. I knew Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, and I know that I loved Dream Warriors, #3, which I then ended up working with Chuck, which is kind of synchronicity. But I didn't know too much more about him, more than the Freddy Krueger guy. So I went to the audition, and at the audition, I actually auditioned for Roach, Sean Whalen's part in The Walls, because my character wasn't developed yet. And I'll get to that a little bit more later. But so basically, I acted out some scenes, because both Roach and the Stairmaster has the tongues cut out, so we don't have dialogue. So we have to show everything with emotions and arms and face and eyes and that kind of stuff. So I did a lot of exercises in trying to show Eileen different expressions and emotions and so forth. And then a couple of days later, I got a call back to go see Wes. I saw Wes. I did the same thing for him over and over again, and he seemed quite pleased. And I got a call that I got the part. I mean, basically, the way it went was, you book People Under the Stairs. It's a huge movie, and you need to go to K&B tomorrow. So I went to K&B Effects the next day, not knowing what to expect at all, and we had to do the face cast and everything else, because I didn't know at that time that I was going to be a full-blown prosthetic 6 hours a day doing shooting. Wow.
Yeah.
But I went over to K&B, and the first thing I see is Ving Rhames' naked body cast. And I'm like, Jesus.
God damn.
That was the beat of the century right there.
I look at Greg Nicotero, who's now, the Walking Dead fame and Creepshow and all that. And I said, hey, what's that? He said, oh, that's in your movie. I'm like, holy crap. He said, that's Ving Rhames. He's in your movie. At that point, nobody really knew who Ving Rhames was. So that was like, I know it was, they had to really convince him to do this live cast, I heard afterwards, because he's starting to get known, and he didn't know if he wanted to be naked, like have a naked body cast in a movie, but he agreed to it. And then I sat and did my cast, and then a few weeks later, we started shooting. And it was still the best experience of my entire life.
That is, just to hear you tell that story, I'm glad that people come back and watch these full interviews, because I can only imagine being in this role. It's a Wes Craven film, and you're like, yes, I've done it. I'm an actor. And you're like, show me the script. And you're like, wait a minute. Where are the words? No, your tongue's cut out. Oh, shit. All right. Okay, we're back to one. We're We're using these things now. We're using our hands. But again, that's all a part of acting.
It was quite an experience. And like I said, when I first read the script, I have to admit, I was a little disappointed because I read through the script and I was called the big one.
Right.
And I'm like, who am I? And they said, right now you're the big one. So I read, and the big one, he didn't do too much. And I'm like,
right.
why I went through all this, and they said it was a really big major part. And I'm like, I'm going through all this, but I'm reading the script and I don't see the big one doing that much difference,
That's right. Like making it, yes.
Yeah, making a difference. So I'm like, I shouldn't say the word I wasn't disappointed. I was on cloud 9, but I was a little bit like, what am I going to do here? He definitely had something really big in mind for the big one. And that's probably why he called it the big one, because obviously I was supposed to be the first child kidnapped by this crazy couple, which is also, as you know from the last time we spoke, and most people probably that listens to this knows that it's based on a true story in Santa Monica in the 70s. Crazy sister and brother that owned a whole block, and they were slumlords, and they kidnapped. They tried to get a perfect child. So obviously cutting off the ears and the tongue and all that, it's not true. But they did kidnap kids to get the perfect child, and they were very strict. But what Wes did on to go back to the Stairmaster. So I get to set, I do my makeup, and then we start shooting. And then every day, Wes pulls me aside and start talking about my character and say, okay, what do you think we should do here? This is my idea here. I think we should go here. And all of a sudden, from the pages of the script I had, throw the script away. He basically, the original script was gone now, because every day in the makeup chair, and this is what made me know that I was onto something special. I was involved in something special. And this, for me too, would make a big difference in my life. Is that Wes every morning while I was sitting there, first hour in, after the first hour, usually he shows up and he gives me more sides. He said, I have created something else for you. I created something else for you. So what I learned is that he wanted to know who played the character before he put it on paper, which was what he felt and believed in his gut. So after he got to know me more, then all of a sudden, all these pages started flourishing with the Stairmaster. And then one day, I don't know if it was the 4th or 5th day, but it was on the first week, he comes in with a glimmer in his eye and he says, I know who you are now. And I'm like, who am I? He said, you're the Stairmaster. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm actually getting goosebumps telling you this, because it's even more special because he's not with us anymore. God bless him. But that was like, if you ever have a moment in my life where my life changed, that was probably the moment when he walked into my dressing room and said, I know who you are. You are the Stairmaster. I'm like, I have so much to thank him for that one line.
I could not imagine. I mean, it's not just anybody saying it either. It's Wes Craven.
Yes. I mean, I felt it. He actually, at that moment, his smiles was from ear to ear. He actually felt like, okay, I just created another thing that's going to be cultish. And he was right.
Well, it's got to be so cool to know that you were instrumental in that. Like, it was almost like a collaborative realization. Like he might not have come to that realization, or maybe it would have come to a different realization if it was a different actor that was playing that part. It may have turned out completely different, but it's so neat that he waited to meet you and watch how you like get to know you a little bit, and then was inspired by that to help figure out who Stairmaster was.
Yeah, no, it was I really like I said, it's hard right at that moment to realize what's going on, but in hindsight after the fact, I realized that was a big moment of my life. For him to, and then I realized that he was up to that all along. That's why he just had a few things here and there, but the big one, he didn't really know what to do with the oldest child under the stairs. He just knew that he wanted an anti-hero, basically, like somebody who looks like the villain, but he actually becomes the hero. It was all, as we all know now, this movie was quite political and making statements. And this was just another statement of his saying that, I need to know who is going to save this block, meaning the world, more or less. Before I write it, I need to meet him. And we need to shape it together. And we need to do this right. Because, he had his he had Brandon Adams. He was comfortable with him. And he knew what he could do. And he got Emmett McGill and Wendy Robert from Twin Peaks, and he basically told them, do Twin Peaks, but in this movie, you know, go David Lynch on me in bondage outfits, you know what I mean? And then AJ Langer on top of that with Kelly Jo Minter, and he's got a cast, man. He created this group of and Ving Rhames. Don't forget about him. He got his great time in the beginning of the movie, and the package was solid, and he knew he definitely knew exactly what he was doing, in my opinion. And Sean Whalen as Roach, that little skinny Sean in there, nobody else could play that part. Nobody else could play it, in my opinion. And I think that just the way it came together is just a proof of Wes Craven's intelligence and ability to see what he was creating while creating it, not ahead of time, while he's creating it.
Yeah, there's no question in his ability to be innovative. I mean, he reinvented, he pretty much created the horror genre we knew of the 80s, and then went and reinvented the wheel that he was like a godfather of in the 90s with Scream, creating the whole like whodunit type of thing. There's no question, and he's definitely one of the. We'll actually get into that.
We'd like to thank Kelly Jo Minter for joining us. So these questions that we're getting ready to get into will be for any and everyone. You guys just let us know. Durden, take us away.
So, Kelly, for people out there that have not seen People Under the Stairs, that are for some reason watching this episode, could you give us like your best one sentence bio for your character, and kind of like how you got the part and what that was like?
A one sentence bio about the part. Never heard that question before. How about sister who will fuck somebody up if you mess with her brother or family?
I like it. Yeah. I like it. And scene. Yeah.
That's accurate. That's accurate.
I'm sure they auditioned many people. I went to the audition, and I had the flu at the time, and I took some Theraflu or something. So I was asleep in the hallway, and Eileen Knight Mack, and she was like, Kelly, wake up. And I was just out of it. But anyway, they let me come back on a Friday, and I was feeling much better. And I met Wes, and I got the part.
And that wouldn't be the first time that you worked on something that was Wes Craven adjacent. You were in one of my favorite Nightmare on Elm Streets.
Well, thank you. Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, huh? It was a great experience for me. And I'm glad to have been a part of that the Nightmare on Elm Street family, and the People Under the Stairs. People Under the Stairs was fucking dope. It's still dope. I mean, it resonates. It's now, So Wes was very much ahead of his time.
I think Brandon's with us now, actually.
Yep, Brandon. Thank you.
Hey. What's going on, man? Thanks for having me. How you guys doing?
Hello, little brother.
Hey, buddy.
What's up, big sis?
You big hey.
I don't know why I expected you to be this tall. From the Sandlot to the Mighty Ducks, People Under the Stairs, like Boy Meets World. I didn't know. Who are you?
I'm an old man now, man. I got these grays and everything,
Well, thank you so much.
Brandon, you still look good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I didn't say anything.
Well, of course, the model isn't going to say anything. The Swedish model is going to be quiet.
Brandon, you look like you're waiting for Spencer to come out right now.
Right.
I had a question for him real quick. Yeah. I just want to ask you, John was speaking to this earlier. No one knew Ving Rhames was going to be Ving Rhames back then, or maybe you guys did. What was it like working with him, man? Even now, it still has to be surreal. Like, dude, I was there when this thing first popped off with Ving Rhames. How does that feel, man? What was that like?
Definitely. Who knew? But I mean, he was such him and Kelly, they were just They were really, you know, up until that point, I had been really working on a lot of projects with other kids. And you know, so it was kind of like fun most of the time. It wasn't always work. It wasn't until I got on the set with these guys that I, you know, it was like I was out with my older brothers and sisters past my bedtime, and it was really on the job learning, working experience, you know. So I didn't know that he was gonna blow up to be, you know, Pulp Fiction and this and that and all, you know, but at the same time, you could tell that there was something there. He was inspiring me from the whole time we were working together. You know what I mean?
He came so far from People Under the Stairs, but at the end of the day, he's still in the basement with a gimp.
Yeah. Right. It's funny, man. There's those recurring themes in acting. I don't know. I was just thinking about it the other day, and even all the parts that I played as a kid, it was like I was almost always poor. I was almost, you know, like always the poor kid, some way or another, no matter what show it was, you know. But it's cool. It's either the poor kid or the boyfriend. But, you know, you get in where you fit in, man.
And Brandon, I was just mentioning that myself. I was just like, there wasn't a lot of parts out there. So, you know, are you the token Black person? But you made those parts shine. You have real talent, and I hope you get it back out there again. I know you do a bunch of other things, but I'd love to see you back out there doing something, and they should reprise your role, and you should be doing People Under the Stairs too. How about that?
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
I agree with her, but
that was the one I knew when I came in, even as a little boy. Kelly Jo Minner, okay? She had been in everything. I had a crush on my big sis when I came in there. I was like, she was the one that was popping.
So mommy and daddy weren't the only incestuous attractions on Wes Craven moved on from the world, of course, in 2015, thankfully leaving behind his nearly 4 decades of masterful contributions to the horror genre. And then Jan, like we were talking about in the interview, in the spot you wrote in the rap, you talked about Wes's compassion for his actors and how he had the biggest heart. If anyone has a memory or something that they'd like to say about Mr. Craven, please share.
Well, I can. I don't know if I shared this memory the last time, but you know, when all the producers came on set, I know I shared the Brandon Adams story in the rap, so. We can leave that alone. When he ran around the block with Brandon for our last scene, that was just showing the biggest heart I've ever seen in the director, because Brandon just didn't. It was late at night, and Brandon just didn't get there, you know. And he's like, "Screw acting, let's go running," you know. And that's how he got Brandon to just be himself. He just threw him on set and say action, and Brandon's like sweating, running around, and like started saying his lines. I'm like, I just felt it. It was magnetic, and that's the take in the movie. But another story was when I came to set one morning, as I do really early every morning, because I had to sit in a makeup chair for such a long time, and everybody was not where they usually are. It was running on like rats. I'm like, what's going on today? And I went into the makeup room, and Greg Nicotera's not there, Mark Matri's not there, nobody's there, the hair person's not there. And I'm like, they're going in and out of bathrooms and stuff. What's going on? And they like, the suits are coming. The suits are coming from Universal because we're over budget. Like you know, they might shut us down. And I heard things like, and this is the first experience I had with this kind of production, when they get nervous about I didn't realize the fear of the studio or the money before. That was my first experience, because I came from Roger Corman, and he was all his own money. So it's not like he never had that fear. So I see these people, and I overhear things like, "Oh, my kid's going to college, and this, I can't lose this movie." And I'm like, Jesus, everybody was stressed out to no end. So they kept asking, "Where's Wes? Where's Wes?" Wes was nowhere. Everybody was everywhere except Wes. And these guys, the producers come on board, all these, and they had suits. Everybody had a suit on. They walk from department to department, checking things out, but nobody can find Wes. So I'm like, I think I know where he is at. So we had a couple of, you know, spots where we used to hang out. Me and Wes, we talked a lot, because he wanted me to have like a little, you know, shoulder over Brandon and his grandmother and all that. So we got really close, and AJ was young. So I kind of protected her a little bit. So we had our spots. So I walk over to the fire ladder. This was in Renmar Studios with a flat roof. And they had a fire ladder in the corner of on one side. And I knew a spot. So I climbed up the fire ladder all the way up, and I look up, and it's a blue sky with the sun shining, and Wes is lying on his back, just looking at the sky. And I'm like, Wes, everybody's looking for you, man. What are you doing? He said, I'm waiting for them to leave so I can finish my movie.
There you go.
That was Wes in a nutshell. It was not about anything else. He knew what he was delivering. He knew they were going to make money. He knew he had nothing to worry about. But if he gets down there and start talking to these people, it would flip him off. It would get him into a different frequency, different energy, the fear, the stress, the worry. He didn't want any of that. He just wanted to stay in his creative mind because he knew what he was shooting that day. And I understand more now than I did then. He did not want anything to jeopardize his shot list in his brain. So he just waited. He's waited it out. And when they left, he came down and we shot a fantastic scene. So
that's great. What was that I want to go back to that story with that you touched on, Jan, with Wes running around. What was that like for you, Brandon, that night? What do you remember from that? I mean, you were like going on 12 years old during this production,
11.
right?
He was 11.
No, not even. Yeah, I mean, I was what, 11 when it came out.
Wow.
Right? 91.
Yeah.
So really I was like probably around 10, 9 years old. You know, that's just the kind of guy that Wes was. He was quiet, but strategic, caring. He knew how to get what he needed out of the actors without being too technical about it. He just knew how to put you in the feeling of things, Even like when you were talking about Ving earlier, it was like that was one of the things I was speaking on. He knew how to, before a scene, he would say, come on, Brandon, let's drop down. Let's do some push-ups. So let's do some so that we're in the mind state that we need to be in by action. And Wes was just a master at that. He knew how to, he put the right things. He put a basketball court out there on the set for me, different things just so that I could kind of be myself. And then when it came to directing me, at the most, it was like just a little suggestion here or there, but never nothing like too technical. He knew how to do his job. He was a master at it, and at the end of the day, I think it was just more about putting you in the feeling of what you needed to do more than critiquing the acting or whatnot,
Between your abilities and his direction, I was really impressed by your performance in the film, and to be that young and kind of carry the film is impressive.
I appreciate it, and like I said, that I couldn't have done it without the help of all these guys. You know what I mean? I felt like they were really guiding me through everything.
Kelly, I want to ask you one thing. Like you said, to what Brandon was speaking to is, like you say, did you find yourself, and I think you were speaking to it earlier, actually taking on that this is no longer just I'm his big sister on paper. I'm now there with him. We have to make this chemistry, because it seemed like they had that brother. So it felt natural. So did you guys work on that? How did that come about?
No, we didn't have to work on it. It was natural. It was just like, I hit you upside your head. No.
Yes, ma'am.
Brandon is like one of those, let me just tell you, I work with a lot of different child actors, and it's the parents that are nuts, which makes the kids neurotic. Brandon's family, they're real people. You know what I mean? So he was real. So what you saw is an authentic kid out here having fun, wasn't tainted by all the neuroticism of these freaking kids in show business. And he had his grandmama who had his back. So if somebody would have did something crazy, it would have been on him cracking, I'm sure. And we weren't going to let anything happen, Brandon. And speaking again about Wes was like, it wasn't that kind of set where people were all like freaking out and, the director. It wasn't even that kind of energy. So everything just flowed. It was easy. It wasn't like, oh, Brandon, you need to. No, I'm looking at him for a cue. You know what I mean? No, he, Brandon, I'm not going to say he's underrated because, of course, he has his props. But that was a little kid. That kind of intensity, you only see that every once in a while. And this is a young Black kid, which you don't see as a person who is carrying this film. So that's a lot.
Hey, I know Macaulay Culkin's had his lines in Home Alone, but Brandon, yours ranks number one for me. What does he say? You know a prayer? Say one. Boy. Yeah, there we go. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. Say one. Say two.
Man. Yeah, there was so many good lines in there, man. Yeah. Wes really did his thing, and I loved it. I remember when I first went out for the audition, and I had my little bad streaks, but I remember that being some of the most exciting parts to me. Is like all the little lines, the grown line. I remember my grandmother saying, "That's a lot of cursing. Like I don't know about this." And I was like, "Look, grandma,
Yeah, I was gonna ask what Grandma thought about the F word.
Oh man, Grandma, I remember she was like, "That's a lot of cursing." I was like, it's a real situation. But Grandma was with it. She knows what's up.
No, his grandma was something else on set. I have to say, she was an anchor on set. She befriended me really closely because also at that time, synchronicity again. Me and Brandon came from the same agency like 4 years earlier when he was a really little Michael Jackson and stuff. We were in the same agency, and I knew about him, and I heard his name. He's like, Brandon Adams is in this. I knew him when he was like even smaller, So his grandma, I met his grandma that 4 years earlier at the agency. So she took to me a lot, and she came into my room every day, no fail. And she put him, whatever his makeup or hair, and he's like, I'll leave you for a minute. He comes into my dressing room, she closed the door, and she's like, well, let's talk about today. I'm like, okay. So he's going to say all these things. Are you okay with that? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with that. It's a movie. And she's like, well, I'm a little uncomfortable with this. I'm like, no. Brandon can handle it. He's strong enough. He's like, okay, if you say so, because you're a little younger than me. I just want to make sure everything is on the same page here and everything's going to be cool. And I don't want him to suffer later in life. I'm like, no. This is all good. This is all good. I mean, I love his grandma. We had a great time on set. She's like watching over me too. Like, what are you doing now? I'm like, I'm just getting snacks, man. Come on.
Hey, grandma was watching over the whole situation.
Oh, she definitely. Yeah.
That's all, the real Stairmaster.
Yeah, she was delegating. She was good. It was good. I mean, she made the movie for him, I think. Without her, I don't think he would have been what he was. So,
the whole thing, the whole experience, it was just a real creative, cool, relaxed space. Like, even when you were talking about Wes earlier, it was, I've been around directors who were like, do this. It's never do this. It was just always try this or try that. Let's do another one. And, try something else. So it was a lot of freedom just to kind of be creative. And that's, I think you're always going to get the best work like that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Not too long before his passing, he was actually putting together a reboot in the form of a series with Sci-Fi. And Jan, I read that you were interested in reprising your role as Stairmaster and possibly talking about it. Are there any details that you could share about what could have been with that?
No, it was just me and Wes where we were texting and tweeting together back and forth, and he was all excited about the show. He called me and said, "Hey, I have this sci-fi thing going. You're in it." I mean, he was finally. It was so Wes. He was finally like, "Wow, all these years, I want to, now I'm going to do this, and I want you involved." And we had this talk, and then he started tweeting me back and forth about what he had planned. And I was, I don't know exactly if I was going to reprise my role as the Stairmaster, but I was going to be in the series for sure. And I was very excited about it. But he said it's very early. I just signed the deal. It's going to take about 6 months before we know what we're going to do and this and that. And 2 months later, he was no longer with us on this plane, unfortunately. So we never know what was going to happen there. But I was definitely going to be involved, which I appreciate very much. And God bless him.
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
We did some research, and actress Wendy Roby credits The People Under the Stairs as the most fun she's ever had on a film set. So if you guys can each tell us just a favorite memory you have from set, whether it's in front or behind the camera.
I don't think it was just one thing. I think it was just, I was like, wow, this is really dope. Look at this. You know, I've never seen a woman DP. Is that what Sandy was?
Sandy Sissel, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It was like just unusual. And just everything, it was the vibe. The vibe was, it was a good vibe. And everybody, I'm talking about from the makeup people, hair people, craft service, everybody was just on point, and it was like a pleasure to go to work. And then sometimes I'd be sitting down talking to Wes during lunch, and I was asking him, like, how was it to do the movie he did in Haiti? What was that movie called? The
Serpent in the Rainbow?
Yeah, The Serpent in the Rainbow. I mean, when I tell you he was a storyteller, you'd be sitting there like, what? Just like, and he was just kind of no frills, but had a certain intensity about him. But I mean, I was just glad to be working with people who weren't insane. So, and it wasn't a lot of drama and all of that. So it was a great experience for me. And I still love these guys. You know what I mean? We go and do the convention. These are my brothers. You know what I mean? So I wasn't going to let Jan down today. I mean, that's my bro. He's like, Kelly, I need you at 5. Okay.
No, I appreciate that. And Brandon, too. And unfortunately, Sean can't be with us, but, he's a little prima donna. But anyway.
He's tongue-tied.
No, but I mean, I agree with Kelly, actually. Overall, I have so many different great experiences from this set, and it changed my life, and literally. So, I mean, we're still going on conventions because of this one movie. So, I mean, it changed all our lives in some capacity or the other. But I think in general, the energy I got from Wes. Now, even in hindsight, afterwards, now meeting all these other people between Wes and now, these hundreds of people you met and worked with, he was just so genuine. It was just real. When he talked to you, he knew exactly what he was saying, and he meant every single word. And that to me was gratifying. It was just, like, I didn't realize that, I think, when I shot the movie, because then I shot with all these other people, and you didn't get the same feeling. Like, I was spoiled with Wes because it's my second film here, and I thought, okay, this is fantastic. This is going to be the rest of my life. Like, I love everything, but then you have different experiences afterwards. I was just very spoiled and fortunate and blessed to work with Wes early in my career to realize what it really is all about.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
I would have to agree, man. Just the overall experience was great for me. I don't really have one moment. I mean, from beginning to end, from how I got the role to all these great people that I worked with. I'll tell you a secret. Like, when I got the role, I had never read the full script. So, and I mean, up until it was time to film. So I was kind of like, it was all unveiling to me as we were going along. You know what I mean? I kind of thought it was a movie about these people and didn't know how huge my role was in the whole thing. So it just really, unraveled for me. And I got to just, like I said, I worked with all these great people. I got to do my own little stunt work and shit, I was messing with the dogs and doing this and doing. So the overall experience was just crazy. At the end of the movie, I got Wes let me throw my own premiere where I had all my friends come from school and all this, so it was just like, it was an unmatchable experience overall, man. And probably one of the greatest projects I've ever been involved with. It was, you know what I mean? So it is. It's too much to narrow it down to one thing.
And he did a flying V.
Yeah.
And he did a flying
From
V.
the king of pop to the king of horror. What a life.
Exactly.
This has become a cult classic. It's one of those films where it just goes on and on, generation to generation. For the true cult following fans, is there anything that either one of you guys can tell us about the film that people may not know, that may not be out there? Just anything that you guys can think of.
When I see it today, especially as I get, as I'm older, I see there's so much messaging in there that I didn't see before. Just the whole socio-economic backstory to it, from the slumlords and them just having this hand of power over the ghetto and the projects and the situation that's going on, and we're all suffering because of these people. There's a lot of underlining messaging in this movie that I look at now and I just go, man, this guy was brilliant. And he was telling a story that still has validity till today. You know what I mean? So, and that's what good stories do, right? You can keep watching them and you still see things.
Yes.
The more and more you watch,
Well, I just wanted to say that we're going on 30 years now with People Under the Stairs, and as everybody has said on this program, this movie is as present today as it was 30 years ago. And I think people should reflect, watch it again, and realize that this tells us a lot of things about the world, and we can learn a lot from it. And God bless Wes for being alive and being a creator.
Well, I can't even put anything else on that. I think that was very well said. And again, thank you for every single fan out there who has put us on. And we want to do this because you, the fans, are deserving. And we appreciate you all. So thank you for having us.
And I feel like they both said it. But again, too, like with the conventions and the shows that we do, like that's the best part to me, is like meeting the fans and seeing how much these projects meant to them. I mean, we know what it was for us, but when we get to see the fans, and like Jan said, from the older generation to the younger, and people who share it with the next generation, it's just that's the best part, and that's how we make it live on forever until Jordan Peele comes and redoes it.
when all of us involved. Amen.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you. We cannot say it enough.
Guys.
We thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Please be safe. I wish you much success. And Brandon, hey, thank you. I'm jealous of you only for one thing. You got to do the flying V, man. You know how many times I've seen my jokes?
Yes,
I'm jealous of the flying V.
Not about the fact that he got to dance with Michael Jackson.
Nope, flying V.
Flying V.
Still...
That's what's up. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having us too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have a good one. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, guys. Thank you. Sweet
Bye-bye.
dreams.
Bye, brothers. See you soon.
Bye. Love you. See you soon.
Love you. Take care, buddies. Sean is on an airplane, so he couldn't do it. But maybe 5-10 minutes before you air, if you want to have him just by himself and cut it in, you can probably.
All right, our first guest graduated from UCLA and hit the ground running, performing and studying at Grambling Theater and Playhouse West while working as a waiter. He'd eventually go on to appear in nearly 140 productions spanning every genre, as well as plenty of commercials, including the famous Got Milk campaign. But it all began with the role of Roach in the film that brings us together today, The People Under the Stairs. Thankfully, he has regained his ability to speak since then, and we're so honored that you've taken the time to talk to us. Thank you very much, Sean Whalen.
How's it going, guys?
All right. Let's talk about why we are here. Ladies and gentlemen, The People Under the Stairs. Now, Mr. Roach, you're all of 26 years old, completely new to the world of feature films, and Wes Craven is directing you. First, can you tell us about how you were cast for the role of Roach and what it was like portraying a teenager that was written as 10 years actually younger than you?
Well, the audition came in. I had just done comedy. Like, people go, how did you get into horror? You get in by the audition that you're sent. You know what I mean?
We're looking for the romanticized story of I was called, I had something appeared to me. But yeah, that's more often than not is the answer.
No,
It's
like, you know, I had just done a comedy, you know, with Cloris Leachman on a TV show. And a couple weeks later, I got this. And then I did a guest star on a little TV movie. And then this was the next one that came in. So I looked at it and I thought, oh, I just got to crawl around the floor and all this stuff. But then I went to my coach and we talked about how he just has to be fun and think what he's doing is fun. Don't overthink it. He is doing heroic things, but he doesn't know he's heroic. You know what I mean? He's just having fun. That's all that's what makes him heroic, right? Because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just playing around. So, but I did have to do the death scene. I mean, it was funny. A lot of my friends were finished graduate school and they were like going to jobs, interviews with their suits. And they're like, oh, I just have to sit there with my suit and my tie and do all this stuff. And they're like, I go, yeah, well, I just went in an interview shirtless, crawling around Wes Craven's floor and hiding behind chairs and poking out behind his, furniture, crying and laughing. So, but it was cool though. Within the hour, I got the phone call.
One thing I wanted to ask now, this is what Wes Craven said, and in remembrance of him, a lot of the things we've uncovered about this film is that a lot of people and the actors, cast members said this is one of the most fun sets they were able ever to work on. So what I wanted to ask you, what was it like to be on a Wes Craven set and remembrance him, and was it really as fun as they say?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was super relaxed. Wes just wanted to make everything relaxing. He wanted to take the acting seriously. He's just so chill and nice and paternal and nurturing. So that made everyone feel good, and that made everyone want to do their best for him, right? So yeah, I had a good time. Now, I worked with Jan a little bit. I worked with Brandon a lot. Never worked with Kelly. Me and AJ Langer and Brandon, would hang out, and they were like kids. But we had fun talking and stuff like that. And you get more childlike when you're hanging around an 11-year-old kid, right?
Yeah.
So me and Brandon did that. But yeah, it was really, really fun. And I didn't get to, so in terms of fun with other adults and stuff like that, I didn't get to do that. But, the makeup guys were really fun. The makeup lady was really fun. Greg Nicotero, it was a blast. It was a blast to be able to have such safety. My favorite story is, so I had a prosthetic tongue, did my famous scene where I do show the tongue, and I put it in and I did the shot, right? And then right after that, they did a shot where they burst in and they shoot, he shoots me as I dive into the wall, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he actually had a big, explosion gun, a sound, it was a big gun. And he came in, bust in, and they did it in real time. So he bust in, I dove through the thing. They had a long, boom. And when it ended, I was like, oh man, Wes, I dove in there really quick. It must've gone really well. And he said, let's look at this. And so he brought me over. I was looking at the thing, and you heard me go, oh shit. And then I dove, and then the explosion went off. He goes, you can't do that. You can't talk. And I was like, oh man, I didn't even know I did it. I didn't. So what I decided was to take that prosthetic tongue, put it in my mouth, and then I just talked the way I wanted to talk the rest of the movie. And never understand me because of that.
That the prosthetic tongue that part was one of my, more so than any other moment in the movie, that moment made me shriek back, oh man, that it was just unsettling to see with that reveal when you open your mouth. How was that what was that process like, having that tongue in? What do you remember, what was used or how that effect was created, especially for that reveal shot?
I just remember, I think I did stick my tongue into some I forget what it was, like a gooey, mold thing. And then I pulled it out, and then they created it. They just, Greg Nicotero, they created, it was like it was like, I don't know the material, but I just slipped it on,
Did it get uncomfortable or No,
it made it easier for me. I got used to it. It was just like putting on, the fingers and the makeup. It was just part of Roach,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it looked great.
How does it feel to be such an integral part of a film that is still so crucial and talked about and cult followed 3 decades later?
Yeah, it's funny because I just met a guy that works in horror. He works in Kevin Williamson's production, and he had never heard of it. So it's interesting. It's really a cult in that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mainstream people usually don't know it. I think you have to be into horror to really know it because, most people from West, they know Scream and Freddy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the people who love it, just like Rocky Horror Picture Show or something like that. They really love it. The fans really love it. People love Roach. A lot of people say that they cried. I did Kenan Thompson's show. If you look at his Instagram, I don't know if you guys want to find it, from back in February or whatever, I gave him a sweatshirt. He loved Roach. He said it was the first time he ever cried in a horror movie.
Nice.
So when Roach died, it's just interesting how much people actually really dig it.
Kenan Thompson is notorious for not being able to keep a straight face. So I like to believe now that when he's trying with all his might to keep the smirk off his face, he's going back to that first childhood misery of watching Roach die. Yeah, you're on his mind every Saturday night.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird to know that so many people love it and see it. You know what I mean? You just don't know. Like I didn't really know. So I didn't know, right? Until Facebook came along. And all of a sudden I started getting like friend requests, tons and tons and tons and tons. And my friend was like, this is your fans. And I was like, fans? What are you talking about? And I just went, accept, and just accepted and that's what it was. People started going, oh man, do you have any photos of Roach? Do you have any,
I mean, he quickly made a business page 2 days later.
That was great. Started doing conventions and everything. So
I might be speaking from my own personal bias with my history with Wes Craven, as I grew up on Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger, and but I feel like everybody, I feel like there had to be a certain level of excitement or at least confidence going into the production that this was going to be something, because Wes Craven had already established himself as with Nightmare on Elm Street, Last House on the Left, Hills Have Eyes. Yes. So you weren't just working on some rando's horror film,
But I wasn't into horror.
Okay, so
I didn't know who he was. I had no idea who he was. I knew when they said Freddy. Well, when they said he created Freddy Krueger, sure, and I had heard the name. That's not fair to say I didn't know who he was. Of course, I had heard the name. But I didn't know his work besides Freddy, That's what's so funny is people are like, oh, you're so into horror. No, I mean, I got a job in horror.
Right. So I just came off this comedy thing. Y'all keep talking about this horror. I'm funny, damn it.
Yeah. I prefer comedy to anything. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to underplay him. It's just I was more into comedies, And
I told him
getting to know him and getting to know the horror genre and stuff like that, then that changed,
It's crazy when he reminded me that you did such a good job and I didn't know it was you, but we do this thing called connections on our show. So I was telling him wait a minute, he's famous for Roach and he's also famous for the milk commercial where he doesn't speak. You might be the most famous non-speaking actor in the world.
That's what people thought for a while. A lot of people thought that for a while.
So, listen, I want to tell you, thank you, man. You didn't have to reach out, and you did this you opened up your schedule for us, and we really appreciate it because it's people like you we grew up on, and you're still in the industry, and we wish you nothing but the best, man. Seriously.
Thank you so much, Sean. Yes, I appreciate it. Have a great. You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. We want to thank our guests once again for taking time out for us today. Durden, what do we have next?
Thanksgiving.
All right. We want to thank our guests once again for taking time out for us today. Durden, what do we have next?
Thanksgiving. Starting off with what we would have changed.
Okay. All right. Let me jump right into this. I only have 2 things that I would have changed about this. You're never supposed to say ever. There is not one black child on this earth that would have went back to that house. I just wish that someone had stepped in like, Wes, I love what you're doing. I mean, Wes, who am I to even tell you about how to make a horror story? But the scariest thing to me is to think that that child really thought it was okay to go back in that house.
Yeah.
Even if his his pretend step grand, they'd be like, "What's wrong with you, boy? They used to tell us years ago we used to walk down that street. Like, you give me these gold coins and you go to sleep." Like, I would have changed the fact that he should have not went back in that house. For him to be such a smart person, that was such a dumb thing to do. For all the obvious reasons, not just because he's a black kid, just in general, it's just fucking dumb. But also I know why he knew he couldn't call the police, because he just heard 97 gunshots go off in this motherfucker and a PA system, and them bitches still ain't come. God damn, when the police won't come help you at a white person's house, you know you're in fucking trouble.
It was definitely a nice sentiment that he went back to the house, because he did it purely because he gave somebody his word. So that, I mean, I'd see, like, as far as he's the hero of the film, there, noble characteristics. But yeah.
Wait a minute, he didn't go right back initially. Didn't he go to the phone booth and call the cops?
Yeah, and reported child abuse. And then the cops showed up there. I think he was already hiding in the house or getting in when the cops were there.
And just like a Looney Tune, he's sitting up there explaining to the cops what happened. Man, he lifts up his hat to show the brute, and the other guy's just looking all around. And one thing I did want to hit on real quick is that one of the underlying tones there, that there could have been a sequel to this, and I don't know if Wes ever thought this. Had they not saved that girl, she was going to become them. She got to live upstairs. She said, "I see no evil, I hear no evil," meaning she's going to do what she's taught and continue it on, just like the girl from Us, not from Us, from Get Out, who was sitting there, the cereal and the milk.
Yeah.
That. But the only other thing that I would have changed was the runtime. I really found myself within the last 45 minutes of the film. Like, I mean, I stopped it like an hour and something in, and I was like, man, this is almost perfect. And then when they went back to the house, it just drug on and on. This door, that door, this door. I'm like, look, I get it. He like, they're helping him, and I just felt like that if they would have shaved 25 minutes off of this film, I really think it would have become a masterpiece faster, because I do know this has a cult following. So I have to be honest with myself. I would change the fact that he went back to the house, and number two, I would shave about 20 to 30 minutes off the film. And of course, I didn't care for the ending, but I think I'll let you go from there.
Yeah, two main things that I would have changed. The first one is to decide on a tone. In the beginning of the movie and going through it, the stage is set for a dark, twisted horror film, what I feel like it should have been. But then it seems like it's trying to throw in a slapstick element, kind of like Evil Dead. You have like the doorknob shock and then when Roach hits Daddy in the head with a slingshot. There are horrors, there are comedies.
Shouldn't be a homedy.
There are horror comedies. I enjoy all three genres, but People Under the Stairs kind of felt like it didn't commit fully to any tone enough to let me know what kind of movie I was actually watching. On IMDb, it's listed as a comedy horror. I just wish they would have leaned harder into the comedy if that's what they were going for. Wes Craven, he's proven with Scream that he's capable of creating genuinely comedic moments. So I'm not sure what happened in People Under the Stairs. Some of the moments were funny, but they just seemed so
out of
abrupt.
place.
Yeah, you didn't have a chance to really embrace those moments. You're like, is that supposed to? Okay, we're moving on. The ending, of course, but I think you'll actually agree with me this time, for once, about the ending. I would change the ending. I love the reveal of the people under the stairs and Stairmaster at the end. I don't think they did a good enough job at establishing how Mommy and Daddy were successful at keeping them hostage for as long as they did. It seems like all the people had to do was essentially decide to come out, and then they immediately had the upper hand by a damn sight. And then the very end, with the money raining down as the hip hop track starts playing, that felt kind of insulting.
As a white man, it felt insulting. I felt that way too.
As a white man, on behalf of my black brothers and sisters.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
It was almost like downplaying the issues that the community faced, as if to say a few handfuls of cash is considered a happy ending. Even when it felt like the movie, at the start of it, was initially setting up a nuanced commentary about oppressed black and lower income communities up until that point.
Also, I'm sorry, I see where you're going. I just want to add in, it brought up the same thing we just talked about with Candyman, with the gentrification of the neighborhood that was happening there. Go ahead, yo.
I definitely didn't want to see my usually preferred, like, all crazy, tragic ending to a film with this movie, but the ending that we got was just too over the top happy, and I think a more mysterious, abstract closing would have served the message that I think the film was attempting to say a little bit better.
So let me ask you this: how would you have ended it?
I don't know exactly. I would have just liked it to have been a little more nuanced in the ending, to let the audience kind of interpret it however they're ready to accept interpreting it. The ending was essentially like, oh, we're sorry for all this fucked up shit we did. Here's reparations. All is well.
One of the things I think you didn't notice, but also that you didn't talk about, or I didn't talk about. So we're just going to let these people out into the neighborhood now. All these people that are fucked up, we're just going to let them sneak. Who are they sneaking past? Black people.
They weren't even sneaking. They're just casually walking out.
But one thing though, who was the first one out the house?
Oh, it wasn't a Stairmaster?
Yes. Yeah. Who was the first one that was caught? I'm saying, so that's what I'm saying. So yeah, he was the first one in and out.
First one in, first one out.
Yeah.
First one to leave.
First one caught and the first one to escape.
Yeah. I'll expand a little bit upon the ending in the review. You ready to get into the review? All right.
I'm sorry, man.
So that was room for improvement. This is our review, or my review, maybe. Let's see. It seems like with People Under the Stairs, Wes Craven was trying to do Sam Raimi. He even utilized the same effect of shooting something in reverse, then reversing that in post at around an hour and 25 minutes. Yeah, when
the Mortal Kombat reverse scene when she comes through the thing, drops to the floor.
Yeah, when Alice Ex Machina's through the floor. How? I don't know. The timing.
And grabs up the mom and pushes her head on the thing.
Yeah, when she bashes her head on the floor, that was the reverse technique. Even Everett McGill as Daddy it looks like he's trying his best Bruce Campbell impression. Which was entertaining to watch on its own, but something about it just didn't work a lot of the time in this movie. I think with the premise that they were working with here, it should have been a straight horror. It's kind of counterproductive to try to create comical moments within a story about kidnapped and abused children. It's like the movie was working against itself tonally. The positives, I would say, is something I appreciate about Wes Craven films is how he manages to maintain the threatening nature of his antagonists while also making them vulnerable. One of the most entertaining aspects of the Scream films was watching Ghostface get his ass kicked up and down the screen for a portion of every encounter. Even Freddy would get the shit kicked out of him in every movie, usually by a girl too. You see that in People Under the Stairs. Daddy is arguably the most physically abused character in the movie, taking a slingshot to the forehead, a knuckle sandwich to the nuts, a brick to the face. Most horror films rely on a bad guy that is like an untouchable force of destruction. You think like Mike Myers, Jason, Friday the 13th. But Wes Craven turns that on its head with his villains, so it's more believable when the hero defeats them in the end. Their weaknesses are established from their first encounters. I also think it's pretty cool how you go into the movie expecting to be afraid of the people under the stairs. It just sounds creepy inherently, but then you realize that the real villains are right in front of you, with the first tier being Mommy and Daddy, and Leroy even serving as an antagonistic catalyst to the plot as well. Wes Craven is obviously a great director, and that's evident in the visual style, pacing, and overall aesthetic of People Under the Stairs, but something fails to click in the overall delivery with the movie. I give it a 3.
Okay. For me, when I looked at this, I'd like to see films that can be courageous and films that have you talking about them. Those are usually suspense thrillers, things of that nature, to make you kind of say, well, I think they were going for this. And you hit it right on the head in part of your review when you said the title itself is People Under the Stairs. And that leads you coming to think that the monsters are under the stairs when really the monsters are upstairs. But film is art. It shouldn't just be telling you what it is. So you go into it's a misdirect. I think it fell victim to, here's this great director who has this budget and wants to fit, and you talked about it, fit all of these things that he's gotten out of the refrigerator. It's like going shopping while you're high, like going grocery shopping. You're getting all these things that you don't necessarily need. I would have loved to see Jan's character, the Stairmaster, developed a little bit more, because I know that he was the leader of those people down there, but they made it seem like it was Roach, and it wasn't Roach.
Maybe some flashbacks of how he ended up there or something like that.
Right. And like you say, And then we found out that originally he wasn't called Stairmaster, he was called the Big One. I wish he'd have just been called the One, and that's where they all looked at him, because he was the first one, and I think that's where Wes may have been going. But the film, while courageous in the subjects that it tackled, I mean, very courageous at the time, the early 90s, and that's where we joke about old school racism. Those were the times where we were just kids and we knew that there were problems with racism, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is now in time. So with that being said, the film for me, while horror, yes, there are elements of horror. Yes, there's elements of comedy, and yes, there's elements of slapstick. And again, that's not, you can do it, but that's not what one would want to see. So for me, I think the film really did. It to me, it's really great where it's great, and it's really bad where it's really bad. Like, some of the things just should not have happened that happened in the film. So if we're going to be honest about it, for me, would I rewatch it again? Yes, I would rewatch it again, because of the fact that, again, there are so many hidden elements about what's really going on in the film. So that what happened at the end is how you mischaracterized what happened at the end of Candyman with the speech with our guy. I felt like they visually did what you were saying I did artistically. It's like, don't try to wrap this. I don't need the fucking bow. This wasn't a present. Yeah. I know what I came to see. You don't have to do this to me. So to me, I think if I had to give it 1 out of 5 fucks for me.
We also have to give credit to the fact that the gamble that they took to put a entire horror film on the shoulders of a young actor, right, and actually succeeding in doing so, right, that in itself is worth a few points.
I'm going to go ahead. I got to give it 3. If we, like I say, this is revisionist history. We're going back and looking at it and saying this is what we would have done. But, they baked the meal. We're just saying that with a few more ingredients, we'll put it this way, even with us putting it at a 3, it's still a cult classic.
Yeah.
And that it cannot be taken from. So I will give them that. I just really wish Jan's character, the Stairmaster, would have been fleshed out a little bit more, a little less Roach, a little bit more Jan. And again,
well, there was plenty of solid moments that were like 5s or high 4s.
Correct.
But there were a few of those moments, especially where they counted at the end, that dipped into the 1s and the 2s that brought the average down.
Yes.
So but one thing about People Under the Stairs is it has us on the same page with everything as far as scene stealers and fucks given. That gives it an easy average of 3 fucks given for us, flying fucks.
There you go.
All right, what did you think of The People Under the Stairs? When was the first time that you watched it? Did you see it first as a kid? Did you see it as an adult? Would you be interested in seeing a remake? Let us know in the comments. And come in attractions.
Come out to the coast, have a little fun, guys. You know what time it is. All right, earlier this season, we picked out a whole bunch of movies that we're going to do, and there are different levels of movies, Durden. There are movies that we grew up with. There are the movies that made us. There are movies that we will never see again, and there are movies like, oh, that's a classic. And then there's what I like to call time capsule movies. Movies that if you want to tell something people from another planet about Earth, Die Hard is one of those movies you would put in there for so many reasons. You can see what gas prices used to be looking like. You could just see a lot of things. But we will be covering Die Hard just in time to kick off the holiday season with a yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yippee-ki-yay, melon farmer.
That'll be the first Thursday of November the 4th. And you know what? This is a time capsule film, Durden. I hope you got your sweater ready.
Before the show ends, do us a favor and check the subscribe button to make sure that you are subscribed. We've had people report getting autonomously unsubscribed from our channel, so make sure that you're still where you need to be with us. After the episode ends, maybe hit the share option and post it on your profile or horror groups or Reddit or wherever you post stuff. Or if you're like my mom or grandmother, just kind of share it in a text thread or something. Copy the link. Drop it to people. Maybe you have a cousin that used to love the movie that would appreciate this. Point is, share. If you're watching this right now, you are a part of our core audience, and we are humbly reliant on our core viewers to help us get TTFT out there, or continue getting out there, I guess I should say. Your recommendations are far more effective than our self-promoting could ever be, so we appreciate you helping us spread the word.
And also, we want to give a shout out to the man in the pink hat, Mr. Mike Kehoe, for, of course, hooking us up with Jan, and Jan for hooking us up with Brandon, and of course, Kelly Joe Mentor. Guys, thank you so much. We want to keep building this community, so we could not have done it without you. And with that being said, gals and ghouls, enjoy the rest of your Halloween night. Don't feel bad about eating all your kids' candy, and please don't put any razor blades in them, because they're going to arrest a black man with a hook on his arm.
And if you find any with drugs in it, send it to us.
Yes, and we will be feeling like we're on us by looking in the mirror. All right, guys, enjoy yourself. We'll see you soon. Boy.
Goodbye, 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 goodbye.
Why don't you subscribe? It'll last longer.